I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 5 years now. We got engaged just a few months ago, and honestly, I thought we had a solid future ahead of us. She seemed so into me, so committed. Or at least I thought she was. From the start, I noticed little things that seemed off. She was more distant, secretive with her phone, and sometimes she'd cancel plans last minute. I brushed it off because everyone has their bad days, right? But then there were the nights she'd go out with friends, and I'd get that weird feeling in my gut. She'd come home late, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize, and her stories about where she'd been would never quite add up. Still, I wanted to trust her. I kept telling myself it was just stress, busy work schedules, or maybe her just needing space. But then, the signs started piling up, and I couldn't ignore them anymore. I began noticing receipts in her purse, hotel receipts, restaurant tabs, gas station slips that I didn't remember her mentioning. I'd see her on her phone more often, typing away in the bathroom or pretending to scroll through her social media but actually deleting messages. And she got more bitchy, snapping at me for no reason, telling me I was paranoid for suspecting anything. One night I decided to do a little digging. I wasn't proud of it, but I was desperate. I went through her phone when she was asleep, and my stomach sank when I saw texts from a guy named Mark, her coworker, I guess. They were flirty, talking about weekend plans, times they'd meet up for a quickie, and how much they both needed a break from the stress. I saw messages about hiding their meetings, and she called him her secret, which should have been a red flag but somehow just made my blood run cold instead. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just paranoid. She had been cheating on me for months. It was all right there in black and white. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, like I'd been betrayed in the worst way possible. How could she do this? How long had she been planning it? And why? We had plans, dreams, and now I was just left here trying to process how someone I loved and trusted could do something so cruel. The thing is, I don't even think she's sorry. When I confronted her the next day, she looked at me with those icy blue eyes, rolled her eyes, and told me I was overreacting. She called me crazy, said I was just insecure and that I was imagining things, that she needed space, that I was suffocating her, and that it was all just a misunderstanding. But I knew better. I could see the guilt, the sneer on her face. She was lying through her teeth, and I was the fool for ever trusting her in the first place. That's where I am now, hurt, angry, and completely lost. I can't believe I gave her my heart only to find out she was sneaking around behind my back. I don't know what's worse, the betrayal itself or the fact that she's so good at lying. I've been through so many emotions, rage, sadness, disbelief, and I still wake up every morning feeling like I've been punched all over again. I never saw any of this coming, and honestly, I do even know what to do next. After that initial shock wore off, I started piecing things together more clearly. The receipts, the texts, her strange behavior, everything pointed to one thing. Lisa had been planning her escape for months, probably right under my nose. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I was so blind to what was happening right in front of me. I thought we had a good thing, or at least a future. Now I realize I was just fooling myself. I couldn't sleep that night. Instead, I stayed up, staring at my phone, trying to decide what to do. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time I had a plan. I wanted to catch her in her lies to see how far she'd go to deny everything. I didn't trust her anymore, not a single bit. The way she'd spun her excuses, the way she'd act innocent even after everything was exposed, that was just her way of dodging responsibility. But I wasn't buying it anymore. The next day, I casually asked her to sit down. I told her I found some receipts in her purse, hotel stays, dinner bills, gas receipts, all of which she never mentioned. Her face flickered with a flicker of guilt, but she quickly masked it with her usual bitchy smirk. That was when she started lying again, saying she was just getting her nails done or that she'd gone to see her mom. She played it off so well, like she didn't think I had any evidence, but I had enough. I told her I knew she'd been sleeping with Mark for months, and her face changed then. The mask slipped just a little. Her reaction. Oh, she got defensive, of course. She started calling me crazy, saying I was reading too much into things, and that I was just jealous because I'm not enough. The nerve of her. She actually had the audacity to turn it around on me like I was the problem. Meanwhile, she kept lying, insisting she loved me, that I was just overthinking, and that she'd never cheat on me. She just needed a bit of space. Yeah, right. I could see right through her bullshit. She's the kind of woman who can lie convincingly when it suits her. What struck me most was how she said she needed space because I was too controlling, that I wasn't trusting enough. Yet she was out there doing everything she could to hide her affair. I was furious. It was like she was spinning a web of lies, trying to convince me she was innocent while she was planning her escape route. I felt like an idiot for not noticing sooner. That feeling of betrayal even now feels like a punch to the stomach. Everything I thought I knew about her was a lie. But here's the thing, I wasn't going to just roll over. I needed to see her true colors, so I kept digging. I asked who Mark was, how long they'd been seeing each other, and I pressed her on details she stumbled over. I was furious but trying to stay calm. I wanted her to slip up, to say something that would reveal how deep her treachery went. And she did. She got irritated, snapped at me, and finally she admitted that they had been more than just friends for months, that they'd even been planning to meet in secret during our supposed date nights. That realization hit me hard. Months of lies, planning, betrayal, while I was out here trying to build a future with her. I felt like I'd been played for a fool. It's one thing to find out she cheated. It's another to realize how cold and calculated it all was. I kept asking myself how I missed all these signs, how I let her manipulate me so easily. The worst part, she still denied that they crossed the line into sex. Said it was just emotional cheating, that she still loved me, and that she wasn't leaving me because she wanted to see if there was still a chance for us. That was the last straw for me. I told her I'd had enough. I told her I wasn't going to sit around and be a fool anymore, that I deserved better than some bitch who played me for months and lied to my face every chance she got. I told her I was done, that I was going to pack my things and leave. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk like she thought she still had some kind of power over me. But I knew better now. She was just a manipulative, lying cheat, and I was tired of being the fool in her game. After I told Lisa I was leaving, she tried the usual tricks, crying, begging, promising it was all a mistake, that she loved me so much and that she'd change. But I've heard it all before, and honestly, I was done. I saw her for what she really was, a bitch who had been screwing around for months, all while pretending to be the loyal wife. Her tears didn't mean anything anymore. They were just her way to try and guilt-trip me into staying, but I wasn't falling for it. I gathered my things that night, still numb, and I remember feeling this strange mixture of relief and heartbreak. I wasn't sad because I was losing her. I was angry, so damn angry that I had trusted her, loved her, and she'd thrown it all away for some guy at work. I kept replaying everything in my head. The nights she'd come home late, her phone calls, the receipts, the lies. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind. How did I miss all the signs? Did I really mean nothing to her? When I finally sat in my car, pulling out of that driveway, I felt like I was leaving a part of myself behind. The worst part was that she was still there, probably smiling to herself, thinking she'd gotten away with it, but I knew better. I knew she'd betrayed me in the worst way, and that realization hit me like a punch to the gut. I'd poured my heart into that relationship. I had dreams of us building a life, a future. Now that was all just shattered. The next few days were a blur. I stayed with a friend trying to clear my head. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her smug look when she lied, her sneering tone when she tried to deny everything. It made me sick. I started thinking about revenge, not in some childish way, but an actual plan to make her regret what she'd done. I didn't want to just walk away feeling like a fool. I wanted her to feel the pain she'd caused me, to see what it was like to be truly betrayed. I knew I had to be smart about it. I didn't want her to get away with it scot-free, so I decided to do something that would hit her where it hurts, show her she couldn't just cheat and lie and walk away like it's nothing. I started digging into her phone more, looking for anything I might have missed. I wanted proof, proof that would make her uncomfortable, that would force her to face the consequences. I found a few more messages between her and Mark, some photos they'd exchanged, plans to meet up again next weekend. It confirmed everything I'd suspected. and I felt that familiar cold anger bubble up inside me. But I didn't confront her right away. I wanted to be sure, to be calculating. I didn't want to give her a chance to spin her lies again or to cover her tracks. No, I was going to do this on my terms. I decided to set a trap, something to make her see that I knew everything, that I was one step ahead. I didn't want just a breakup. I wanted her to realize her game was over, that she'd lost her best chance at lying her way out. The plan was simple but cruel. I would call her, pretend I was still interested in working things out, say I wanted to meet her, talk, maybe give her a chance to confess or try to explain herself. But I knew she'd come running, thinking she still had control. When she showed up, I'd be ready. I'd lay everything out, proof, receipts, everything I'd uncovered. I wanted her to see that I wasn't some fool anymore. I wanted her to finally understand that I knew the truth and that I was done playing her game. I kept thinking about how much I hated her at that moment, how she'd broken me, and how I was going to make her regret it forever. I didn't know what exactly I'd do after that, but I knew I'd have my revenge. I wasn't just going to walk away with a broken heart. I was going to make her see what her betrayal really cost her. That's what pushed me through the pain, the anger, and the shock. I was going to make her pay for what she did, one way or another. The day I decided to execute my plan, I felt like I was walking a tightrope. Every nerve in my body was on edge, but I knew I couldn't show any weakness. I dialed her number, pretending to be calm, trying to sound like I still cared, just a little hoping she'd take the bait. She picked up almost immediately, her voice like honey mixed with venom, trying to act innocent. She was still good at pretending, but I could hear the slight hesitation, the way she hesitated before answering, like she was already starting to crack. We arranged to meet at that little cafe we used to go to, just to talk like adults, she said. I told her I wanted to clear the air, that I still loved her, and that maybe we could work through this mess. She agreed, probably thinking she still had the upper hand. When I hung up, I looked at my phone for a moment longer, feeling a strange mixture of satisfaction and dread. I knew I was about to confront her with everything, and I didn't know what her reaction would be. Would she deny, lie, fall apart? Or would she get angry? Or worse, would she try to manipulate me again? That entire day, I prepared myself mentally. I printed out some of the texts, had screenshots ready, and packed a small bag with everything I needed: proof, my own clothes, a plan for what I'd do afterward. When I finally saw her pulling up in her car, my heart started pounding harder. She looked the same. Her bitchy smirk, her perfectly styled hair, like she was still in control. But I knew better now. I was ready. She approached quickly, trying to act nonchalant, but I could see the flicker of discomfort in her eyes. As soon as we sat down, I didn't waste any time. I laid everything out on the table: her hotel receipts, the texts, the photos she'd exchanged with Mark, even some of the voice messages I'd managed to save. Her face drained of color. She tried to deny it, saying it was all a mistake, just a misunderstanding, that Mark was just a close friend, and that I was crazy to think she'd do something like that. But I cut her off. I told her I wasn't stupid. I'd seen enough, and I wasn't going to let her spin her web of lies anymore. Her reaction, it was pure bullshit. She got angry, snapped at me, called me paranoid, and said I was trying to ruin her life. Then she looked at me with that bitchy smirk again, trying to dismiss everything. But I wasn't buying her act. I could see the cracks in her facade, the way her hands trembled slightly, the way her voice shook when she tried to deny what I knew was true. In that moment, I saw her for what she really was: a manipulative, selfish woman who thought she could get away with anything. When I told her I was done, she tried to guilt-trip me. Said I was the best thing that ever happened to her, that she loved me, that she'd do anything to fix this, if I just gave her a chance. But I'd had enough. I told her I didn't want to hear her lies anymore, that I was leaving, and I pulled out my phone to show her the proof one more time. Her face twisted in rage, and she screamed that I was ruining her life, that she'd never cheat, that I was just insecure, that I'd driven her into an affair because I was controlling. That's when I finally saw her true colors. She wasn't sorry, she was just furious that I'd caught her. She tried to storm out, but I blocked her. I told her that I wanted her to understand what she'd done, how deep her betrayal went, how she'd manipulated me for months, and how I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. I wanted her to see that her lies didn't work on me anymore. I kept my cool, even though inside I was boiling with rage and heartbreak. Eventually, she left, slamming the door behind her. I sat there for a moment, feeling this strange mixture of relief and emptiness. I had confronted her, laid everything out, and I'd done what I promised, expose her for the lying bitch she was. The aftermath was almost worse than the betrayal. I felt hollow, broken, but somehow free. Like I'd finally taken control, even if it was just for that moment. I knew this wasn't the end of it, but I also knew I wasn't going to let her lie her way back into my life. In the days that followed, everything felt surreal. I kept replaying that confrontation in my mind, trying to process what had just happened. Honestly, I was a mess, anger, disappointment, sadness, all swirling inside me. Part of me wanted to lash out, to do something impulsive, but I knew I had to stay composed. That's when I started thinking more clearly about what I needed to do next. I decided to cut all contact with her. No texts, no calls, no nothing. I couldn't let her manipulate me anymore, not after everything she'd put me through. I blocked her number and social media accounts. I needed space to breathe, to really think about my future without her. It was hard. I kept wondering if I'd made the right decision, if maybe I was overreacting, but deep down I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I'd been through too much, seen too much of her true self. One thing I did do was reach out to a couple of friends I trust. I told them everything, and surprisingly, they were supportive. They told me I deserved better, that I should focus on myself now, and that I didn't need a woman like Lisa in my life. That gave me some comfort, knowing I wasn't alone in this mess. I also started going back to the gym, trying to channel all this pain into something productive. It helped a little, at least it kept my mind busy, but here's the kicker. I kept thinking about her, about what she had done, and how she'd lied right to my face for months. The fact that she'd been planning her exit so meticulously, even while we were engaged, made my stomach turn. I realized she was a master manipulator, a bitch who thought she could get away with everything. That realization made me more determined to move on, no matter how much it hurt. I knew I had to start rebuilding my life piece by piece. Then just when I thought I had it all under control, she showed up at my apartment unannounced. She looked like hell. Her makeup was smudged, her eyes puffy, and her bitchy attitude replaced with desperation. She begged, pleaded, even cried, saying she was sorry, that she'd made a mistake, and that she couldn't live without me. She told me she loved me, that she'd do anything to make it right. I just stared at her, feeling nothing but disgust. This was the same woman who had lied to me for months, who had betrayed everything we had. How could I possibly believe her now? I told her to get lost, that I didn't want to see her again. I told her I knew what she really was, an unfaithful, selfish bitch who thought she could screw around and still come back like nothing happened. She kept crying, trying to guilt-trip me, but I just shut her down. I knew I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. Honestly, part of me felt relief. Relief that I'd finally stood up for myself and told her exactly what I thought. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything. It hit me hard how much I'd trusted her, how I'd believed in the fairy tale of us. But now I saw her for what she really was, a lying, manipulative woman who'd been planning her exit for months. I knew this was going to take time to heal, but I also knew I had to keep moving forward. I couldn't let her destroy me completely. I had to focus on myself, rebuild my confidence, and find a way to let go of all this anger and hurt. Every day since then has been a struggle. Some days are better than others. I still feel the sting, the betrayal, the regret. But I also feel a sense of clarity, like I finally see things for what they really are. And that's given me the strength to push forward, to start over. I know now that I deserve someone who's honest, who truly loves me, not someone who spends months planning her betrayal and then lies her way out of it. I learned that the hard way. And honestly, I wouldn't wish this pain on anyone. Looking back now, I realize that this whole nightmare has been a brutal lesson in trust and self-respect. I've learned that some people are just selfish, manipulative, and willing to throw everything away for their own convenience. Lisa was that person for me, someone who pretended to be loyal and devoted, but who was secretly planning her escape, bedroom secrets, lies, and all. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but I'm glad I saw through her mask before I made any bigger commitments. The hardest part wasn't just finding out she cheated. It was how much I had invested emotionally, how I'd believed in us, and how her betrayal shattered that. It made me question everything about my judgment, about who I am. But I've come to see that it's not about me being stupid or blind. It's about her being a manipulative bitch who didn't value what we had. Now I understand that I can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. I deserved honesty, loyalty, and respect, and she showed me she wasn't capable of giving that. Since the breakup, I've been focusing on rebuilding myself. I've cut out the toxic relationship, and I'm working on healing. It's a slow process, and some days are worse than others. There's that lingering pain, that anger that sometimes bubbles up. But I'm learning how to let go, how to move forward without her. I've started going out more, reconnecting with friends and finding new hobbies. I want to prove to myself that I can be happy without her, that I don't need her lies to define me. One thing I've realized is that I should never ignore my gut again. That feeling you get when something's wrong, that's your subconscious trying to warn you. I missed a lot of red flags, but I also learned to listen to myself more. From now on, I'll trust my instincts and not let someone's pretty words fool me. I know that if someone cheats, lies, and manipulates, they don't deserve a second chance. I've seen what they're capable of, and I refuse to be their fool anymore. To anyone out there going through something similar, my advice is simple. Don't ignore the signs. Don't convince yourself it's just a phase or that they'll change. Trust is everything in a relationship, and once it's broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. Be honest with yourself. If you catch them lying or sneaking around, don't bury it or make excuses. Face the truth, even if it hurts, because in the end, you'll either stay and accept it or walk away and find your happiness without a liar by your side. I can't say I'm completely over this yet, but I do know I'll come out stronger. I've been broken, yes, but I'm rebuilding myself piece by piece. Lisa might have planned her betrayal for months, but I'm planning my comeback, stronger, wiser, and more cautious than ever. No one deserves to be played like a fool, and I refuse to let her win by dragging me into her chaos. I owe that much to myself, to heal, to grow, and to finally move on from this nightmare she created.